as we were saying earlier, the economy is certainly front and center at the Conservative caucus in Ottawa, but it is not the only issue that's on the table there. Preparations for a possible fall election are also being discussed. For more on that, we're joined by Nik Nanos. He is a pollster and CEO of Nanos Research. Hi, Nik.
Hello.
So let's talk about how the parties are doing this summer in terms of shoring up support. What do the polls tell us?
Well, the latest Nanos tracking shows a fairly tight race between the Conservatives and the Liberals. The Liberals are doing well in the province of Quebec, and the Conservatives still have a lot of trouble in the province of Quebec. And the Conservatives are strong in the West. Ontario is a key battleground, and the Grits are doing well in Atlantic. So a bit of what I'll call the summer deadlock between the Conservatives and the Liberals.
Well, and you know, are we fueling this election speculation? You know, every day we seem to be saying, is there going to be a fall election? You know, what is the appetite of Canadians in terms of a fall election, and should we just stop talking about it?
Well, with no offense to the dental profession, it's like a trip to the dentist. An election is, you know, people know that they have to do it, but they might not necessarily be thrilled about it. I think a lot of the speculation is actually fueled by the parties and by the leaders. The signals that they send out, like on the EI Commission, for example, and what I'll say, the positioning that's been going on that front. People are taking those as signals as to each of the parties being ready to fight an election that, ironically, both have significant risks if they were to enter an election this fall.
So let's talk about those risks. You
know, for the Prime Minister, realistically, it's all about Quebec. When we're outside of Quebec, the Prime Minister personally is competitive, and the Conservatives are competitive. But once we get into the province of Quebec, the Prime Minister has a serious disconnect. The Conservative numbers are very soft. I'm sure if you're a Conservative caucus member in the province of Quebec, you're very nervous. And then for the Liberals, it still has to do with definition of their leader and the vision. And this is very difficult for any opposition leader. And, you know, the summer is a tough time to get the attention of Canadians because they're doing other activities that might be a little more pleasurable and enjoyable as opposed to politics.
Right.
So it's a bit of a downtime right now.
Well, some of the cabinet ministers attending caucus in Ottawa seem to have a differing view on the state of economy. You know, we've got John Baird echoing Jim Flaherty, saying that the Bank of Canada was premature in declaring Canada out of a recession, and then Stockwell Day is saying, well, you know, he's interpreting it differently as well. Is all of this combining to confuse Canadians in terms of where we stand in terms of a recession?
Well, I think most Canadians would probably be a lot more pessimistic than the Governor of the Bank of Canada or any politician because they're really bearing the brunt of this downturn, and they're the ones that are really worried about it. And I think the reality is if you're an average Canadian, it's not until you actually feel that you're more secure in your job, that business is up, and that the economy starts moving in a positive direction that you're going to really accept any prognostication in regards to whether things are getting better at all. So I think for most Canadians, they're probably a little more small c conservative in their views on whether this downturn is over or not.
Well, Nik, at caucus in Ottawa, they're discussing the economy, election strategy, preparations for a possible return of swine flu. What would you say? You know, what do your numbers tell you is the issue top of mind with Canadians?
Well, interestingly enough, the economy still is the top issue of concern. But one interesting note is that healthcare has been starting to creep up as an important focus for a lot of Canadians. I think a lot of this has to do with what I'll say the swine flu concern, and also kind of a desensitization on the economic front, that the economy has dominated Canadians' minds so much in the last year that they just might be shifting back to what I'll say traditional patterns. And hence an increase or uptick in the number of Canadians who would give the nod to healthcare as the number one issue.
All right. Thank you for this update, Nik.
Thank you.